What up, y'all? DCFAYGOGUY. Today, we're going to be doing a special little video, kind of. I want to say a special video. It's something that I almost did last year, and as this year is coming to a close, I figured we need to do this video because there's a ton of albums that I missed in 2023. So this video is going to be me going through albums that I listened to, whether it be just one time, whether it be several times. If I put it on my, if I added it to my library and I listened to it but did not drop a review for it, we're going to talk about it in this video right here. It's kind of a lazy way for me to go ahead and drop a review. I feel like there's some albums on here that definitely deserve a review. For whatever reason, I didn't get around to it. And I want to make sure that I show some of these albums some proper love. But I felt the proper way, I felt the proper way was for me to just cover everything that I listened to, whether it be things that really weren't my cup of tea and then I moved on from them. But it's a way to just show everybody love that, albums I've checked out this year, whether I reviewed them or not, whether I like them or not. That's just the whole premise of this whole video. So I don't know as of yet if this is going to be part one of part two, depending on how long this takes, because there is a lot of shit that I listened to this year that I did not drop a review for. So without further ado, let's jump right the fuck into this. Now, the first one on here, I was scrolling through Twitter. I had seen a lot of people talking about it. Even the homies on Deck One Dell had shown a little bit of love to this one. I went and checked it out. Honestly, I listened to it like 2 times. And I was like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like, to be completely honest, it wasn't like I wasn't completely blown away by it. So like I didn't continue to listen to it. But I did listen to it twice. Not terrible. Bridgid Bites dropped Hatchet Girl. This was like back at the end of February. Bloody Sunday was out. There was some stuff out that I was listening to, but like I said, I had seen some people talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, yo, I'll give it a listen. And like I said, it's not like, I wouldn't say it's absolutely terrible. I think if there was somebody out there that's just looking for something new to listen to, it's worth at least one listen. I think you would enjoy it. Bridgid Bites didn't do too terrible. If you don't know who Bridgid is, I don't fully know who she is. I know she has something to do with the Juggalesque. Is that what it is? I feel like I butchered that. But there's an event that goes on at the gathering that she, I guess, was kind of behind. And I'm just going to stop talking about it because I don't fully know what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to pretend to know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't heard of her, she is involved with some events at the gathering. That much I do know. And she dropped an EP. She dropped an album. And she actually dropped another one around Halloween time. Again, because the first one was just kind of like okay to me. And I kind of moved on from it. It was like, I was in the wine testing facility. That one's not bad. And moved on to the next flavor. You know what I mean? But wanted to at least acknowledge that I did listen to Hatchet Girl. Again, not terrible, but also not quite my cup of tea. Another album that dropped at the beginning of the year that really wasn't my cup of tea, but I knew of who he was because he's been around for some while. I don't know if he gained notoriety through CPN, but that's how I learned of who he was. And of course, I am talking about Acetone Boogie, dropped, and I'm going to butcher this, Rayamiento. I'm going to fuck that up. So if I'm fucking it up, tell me in the comments down below you fucked up. I feel like I really fucking that up. But Acetone Boogie, and I guess he's been making music for a minute now. Didn't even fully know it. I didn't really know who Acetone was. I had just heard of him through CPN, and when CPN was really popping and was doing some big stuff. But yeah, I listened to the album. It's on a trap style, so it's definitely going to be somebody's cup of tea, but it wasn't my cup of tea. One thing I do want to say, and I actually remember tweeting it after I listened to it, was there's a line in Carousel Spinners where he says, and it's been a while since I listened to it, but he says like much peso love, I think it was, which is much clown love, and that was like a standout line for me on the entire project, because I was like, yeah, that's fucking dope. You know what I mean? Like I left that kind of like, oh, that's dope. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's on some trap stuff. So if you like trap, you would probably like this album, and I would definitely say go give it a listen and see what you think of it. But if you're like me and you're not really a big fan of the trap style that everyone's doing these days, you may skip it. But it's worth a listen. Like I said, if you like trap. So moving right along, and I'm going to kind of drop this like this. I want to make this look as professional as I can, you know? The next one on here, and I honestly don't know why I didn't review this. This was kind of at a point in the year where I was starting to reevaluate how often or just if I was going to continue to just buy albums as they come out, buy CDs. I was starting to go through that moment of like, I'm running out of room on my CD shelves. Like, this is not long term, this is not sustainable because I'm going to run out of room. And I know people, you might be thinking, well, get a bookshelf, get whatever. There's ways to manage it, but like, I've had to already buy a CD tower really not even that long ago. It's been a couple years. So it was kind of at this, it was at that point of the year where I was just starting to reevaluate how often I was going to buy CDs. So, and also this particular album, and let's just do the reveal, was the Horde, The End Is Nigh, which if you don't know is Boondocks and Buckshot, them together, which kind of on the name of it, little bit confused because you have Turncoat Dirty and Buckshot that does Hell's Kitchen. And I guess this is more on the Boondocks end of things. And if you don't know really the difference between Turncoat Dirty and Boondocks, Turncoat Dirty was who Boondocks was before he ever signed to Psychopathic Records. Of course, they came up with the Scarecrow gimmick, gave Boondocks the name Boondocks, but Turncoat Dirty was what he used to go by, and it's more on like the gangster rap tip, I guess you could say. So, yeah, The End Is Nigh ended up right after Bloody Sunday came out. When I first listened to it, I wasn't really feeling it, and I made what I guess you would say was a professional move of continue to listen to it until like I had better things to say about the album. I basically forced myself to continue to listen to Bloody Sunday for the sake of doing my review. And in kind of a result of that, I ended up like, I've like not revisited Bloody Sunday since I dropped my review. I just haven't. I force fed it down my throat, and it organically wasn't something I was listening to. I just like put it on and just listened to it. And so when it came time to listen to the Horde, like I was on a tip about that time where I was just revisiting a lot of Linkin Park and shit like that. So when the Horde came out, I didn't even go listen to it, or I think I did one time. And honestly, within 2 or 3 tracks, I was like, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. So I didn't force myself to listen to it because I didn't want to do that, because I just done it with Bloody Sunday and ended up kind of, I don't want to say resenting the album, but it just kind of left like this bitter taste of like, why did I listen to this album even though I wasn't really feeling this album? So when I had that first moment of feeling like The End Is Nigh, I wasn't really feeling it, so I just stopped listening to it. Of course, when Cabal dropped, when The Pit came out, I went back and revisited The End Is Nigh a whole lot more because there are some connections between the Horde and Cabal and Warlock coming up. So like I went back and revisited the Horde a lot. I said the Horde. I went and revisited the Horde a lot. So it definitely grew on me, but I feel like the moment just kind of passed for the review, and I just never reviewed it. And honestly, I haven't even picked up a physical copy for it yet, because again, I'm still kind of in that mindset of like maybe picking and choosing what albums that I buy physically, because again, I'm running out of room. So but The End Is Nigh was really good. It really helped set up like what is coming, I think, with Cabal and Warlock. So it is definitely a really good album. If you like Buckshot, if you like Cabal, if you're hip to that scene, then it's definitely worth a listen. If you like Boondocks, it's definitely something to go check out. So let's switch it back over to just seeing my beautiful face as we continue to scroll and find the next one on my list. I do have my phone right here with a list of the albums I like went through, and I was like, oh yeah, I listened to this, but I didn't review it. The next one, and this one I actually started to take notes for, but never did the review. I think because a lot of people don't really care for some of this music, so like I don't know. I go back and forth between like, I know I kind of have this mindset of like doing videos for me or doing it because I enjoy the music, but then also on the same hand, it's like if I have a lot of people that aren't really feeling that shit, then it's like, I don't know. I don't really know. But next on the list is Ritz's Mellow Elevation Music. And when this came out, like I tried to listen to it the first time, and within like 4 or 5 songs, I was just basically it felt like another Ritz album, and that's the best thing I can. That's the best way I can describe this album for you guys. Is it's another Ritz project. Like Ritz is great at doing what he does, so if you are a fan of Ritz, it's definitely something you'll probably enjoy. But if you kind of like, if you view Ritz as like, oh, okay, you know, he's doing his thing, he's a chopper, he does double time rapping, and that's not really your cup of tea, then this is definitely not something that's going to really impress you, I don't think. But there's definitely some good songs on there, and for the most part, I enjoyed it. And again, I started to plan to do a review, but then I think other video projects came up, and that's just what I wanted to focus on. You know, I don't ever want to force myself into a video, and that's just a mindset that I adapted and adopted this year. It was like, I don't want to do something just for the sake of doing a video. Like, that's not why I'm doing this. So I, you know, ultimately was just like, I don't really think I want to drop a review for this, but I did listen to it. It's Ritz. Ritz kills it. So if you enjoy Ritz, you'd enjoy this. So Mellow Elevation Music, which weirdly is named, I don't know where he came up with that name, but I love the fucking DeLorean here. And I think one of the notes that I had made when I was going to prep for this review was that kind of this album and just kind of the things that Kung Fu Vampire, like talking about, like Kung Fu Vampire is really into the 80s. I had the thought like those two need to collab. I don't think they've ever done a collaboration together, and outside of Double Dragon, I think that'd be really cool to hear Ritz and Kung Fu Vampire on a track, or even a full project, side EP, whatever. But yeah, Ritz, Mellow Elevation Music. If you like Ritz, you'd like that. Moving right along, this album right here, I full on filmed a review for. When I finished it, it was like 20 some minutes long. And this particular album is not that long at all. It's a short little EP. The only way you could get it was spending, I think, $50 or more over on mnestore.com. Something I didn't end up doing. I almost, several times through the year, almost committed to buy this album off of eBay. People had it for a fair price. But again, you know, running out of space on my shelves, so I just didn't do it. Of course, I'm talking about Echoes from Dimension X by Twisted. Again, you could only get this by spending $50. I'm pretty sure it was $50 or more over on mnestore.com. It was Family Appreciation Month. I believe that was April. Yeah, it was April. So during the entire month of April, if you spent $50 or more, you got this CD for free. I like this little EP. It is definitely dope. And my absolute standout track, and the reason the review that I shot for this ended up being 20 some minutes long, A Demon. I would place this song right here in my top 10 Twisted songs. I relate to this song heavily. You know, I've worked for companies before that kind of had this, like, they would, you know, there was always this facade of we're a family, and, you know, they would want you to basically put your personal life aside for work or for this work family. So, like, I really relate to this song because I've worked for toxic places before, and I feel that this song is just Twisted expressing like how they feel about the situations of where of them working for Psychopathic Records. You know, there's no secret to who this song is about. It's about Violent J. I don't take it as a diss, but of course, anybody and everybody these days take the littlest thing and they twist the shit out of it, you know. But yeah, I really fucked with A Demon a lot. Again, it's in like my top 10 songs by Twisted, and this EP was really good. I filmed a fucking review for it. It was just so long, and I was basically rambling about like drama bullshit, and ultimately I was like, I don't want to put this video out. I'm just gonna trash it, because it was like I rambled on about bullshit. But yeah, you know, But Echoes from Dimension X, I really enjoy a lot, and again, I've considered picking up a physical, but yeah, I don't really need a physical because I was graciously given the files. I won't say who did it, but somebody hooked me up with what I needed so that I could listen to Echoes from Dimension X. You can listen to it even now to this day. I think it's still on Twisted's YouTube channel. but that's not the method that I really use for listening to music, so I haven't really been doing that ever. So anytime I can get what I need to properly listen to my preferred method for listening to music. Yeah. Switching on down to the next one, and this one right here, I really like this album, and I feel like I have contradicting things to say because this particular artist dropped 2 projects this year. So when it comes time to talk about the next project, this is where things get a little contradicting. But I am talking about Gruesome and Jimmy Don, The Nameless 2. And interestingly enough, this is named Gruesome and Jimmy Don. Jimmy Don is the producer. He did all the beats, all the production, whereas Gruesome just did the rapping. Pretty sure. If I'm incorrect on that, correct me down below, of course, as always. This album I really like. I wanted to do a review for it. Several times when I would be at work and I would be listening to this, I could get easily halfway through this, but then for whatever reason, because like I knew where I was driving to, because I drive where I work, I didn't finish this album. I would put something else on, which I probably could have just let this play and then let it play on repeat. But I got to a point where I felt like this album was just a little bit too long. It clocks in at an hour and 5 minutes, but fucking Gruesome kills it on this. Now, one thing that I wanted to say about this is there was like a sampler that I was given at Lights Out 5 last year in 2022. Gruesome came up to me and he gave me a little cardboard sleeve and made a joke about me making a statement when I was reviewing Hex's Demon Season and the fact that I don't like cardboard sleeves, and he's like, sorry, it's a cardboard sleeve or something like that. He turned it into a jokeful moment about like the cardboard sleeve. So yeah, 5 of the tracks that were on that are on here. I think it was Broken, it was Heavy, and I don't remember the other ones. It was 4. It was a sampler from and I forget the label that he was on at the time. He has since left that label. Oh, I can't fucking remember. But it was 4 tracks that was going to be on this, and then tracks from other people on the label. So it was essentially a sampler from the label. And on that little sampler that I got, the songs that I liked were the ones that were on here and that eventually came out. And I actually wondered when I had it if it was going to be like if it was a sampler for an album or a release coming out. And thankfully that is what happened, because like the songs that were on that sampler, Broken, I fucking love Broken. Great, absolutely great track. But yeah, The Nameless came out. I personally feel like it's just a little too long, but it's also the perfect length for if you want to listen to something, let it play and then play on repeat. But great fucking album if you like somebody who can spit. If you like somebody who can spit some bars, that's the project for you, or a project for you, I should say. The next album that I'm going to talk about, I really truly debated if I wanted to do this review or not. I listened to it a couple of times, maybe 2 times total, but I feel like talking about this album is absolutely necessary. And I don't know, maybe this can kind of wrap up part 1, maybe, depending on how long I ramble for about it. But it's almost kind of like this was inevitable. But Jelly Roll dropped his country debut album, Witsit Chapel. And at the time that he was first like promoting it, I really wasn't sure if I was going to check it out. I've said for many, many years that I just don't like country. That is a true statement. But if you also dip into my background a little bit, growing up, my grandma always had country playing in the kitchen. So anytime you went in to get something to eat, anytime you had to do the dishes or whatever, country was playing. So I was always kind of around country. I never cared for it. One of my first full-time jobs was a farm store, and they played country all the time. So having that background in country, I have built up a tolerance. Like I don't strive to go out and listen to country, and a lot of today's country I just despise. But I have built up this tolerance. So when Jelly Roll put this album out, I went and listened to it, and I personally feel like it's for a country album, it's really good. Like, if I was going to be subjected to country, but somebody gave me the choice, listen to this album or listen to country radio, I would definitely pick this, because a lot of the theming of what Jelly Roll talks about in this album, it's not your like typical stereotypical country music. Like, there's references to like drinking, there's references to God, there's, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's not like your typical "she broke my heart and now my truck broke down" kind of "I'm gonna get drunk" kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's not anything like that. So for me, I feel like Jelly Roll kept it true, and he kept it like classic country music, which again, I don't really strive to go and listen to it, but like classic Reba, classic Dolly Parton, fucking George Strait, Diamond Rio. There's a lot of really great old school country musicians that I think make true country music that's very, very tolerable. It may not be like a sound that I want to listen to because it just isn't, but it's something I can tolerate, and this album very easily fell into that realm because it's not ignorant redneck. It's true country to me. I think Jelly Roll did a really good job giving a country album for his first country album. So, you know, I did listen to it twice, and then I felt, again, it's not something that I'm going to strive to go out and listen to, but it's, if I had a gun to my head said, pick one country album to have to listen to for a whole fucking day, absolutely, What's the Chapel is tolerable. And again, there's some songs on here that I think aren't bad at all. I absolutely do not like the fact that Save Me is on here again. This, of course, was a standout song for me on Self-Medicated, which was his last, I guess you would say, true rap album, which country, Jelly Roll's always had like this little twist of country in his music, always, which is why him going and doing a full-blown country album to me is not too far out of his realm, because he's always kind of had it mixed in. I know a lot of people feel like he sold out, but you know, he always had that kind of country mix in there, and recently he's been doing a lot of singing, so this just kind of took and adjusted the country a little bit up, kicked it up a little bit more where he's fucking singing more. And I believe, yeah, there's a track on here with Yellow Wolf, and it's like a rap song. So like, he hasn't completely abandoned that. And I think a lot of people just aren't used to change. They don't want change. And I think that's a big reason why people are so quick to yell "sell out," even though he's just experimenting, you know, he's just experimenting doing a country album. But you know, Wits at Chapel, I felt like definitely needed that recognition because, again, my background of growing up around country, my first real job, I guess you could say, like, I've had full-time jobs before, but the first like career job, I worked 9 years there. I was around country a lot, so I have this tolerance for country music. So moving down the line, I still have all of the notes for this. I planned a full-fledged review, but then other shit dropped. This particular album dropped when other shit dropped, and it truthfully fell to the wayside. But I went back and listened to it, got everything ready to do a review, and then more shit dropped, and it just got forgotten. So, big shouts out to the homie Freak. He dropped Decade back at the beginning of back at the beginning of July. So fucking Whoa, the Weeping Weirdo dropped. Some new Ouija Mac dropped. I'm not a fan of Ouija Mac, but you know, so Whoa dropped, and there was some other shit that dropped not long after that, and that Freak or Decade just completely fell to the wayside for me. Again, I went back and I made notes for it. I still have the notes, so I could technically still drop the review. But I know one of the things that I wanted to say in there is there's a couple tracks on here where it feels like Freak is starting to maybe evolve a little bit away from doing kind of horrorcore. I don't know if that makes sense. But I think there's definitely needs to be some major evolution for Freak, and I think he's in the right direction. So for me, Decade definitely fell right in line with the rest of them. Like, Freak fucking killed it to me, but there was other shit that dropped that, like, it grabbed my attention more than Decade did. So, you know, I haven't really listened to it a whole lot, but Freak again killed it like he always does. So wanted to make sure I gave, you know, fucking love to Freak and Decade. So moving right along to the next one, and I think we're gonna probably with this next one. Actually, no, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up and make this part one right here of albums I missed in 2023, and we will start a part two, which will drop not long after part one drops. So if you have any albums that you listened to this year that I haven't reviewed or that I haven't talked about so far in part one, tell me down below what are some albums that dropped that you fucking love, that you think are being slept on by people, or just give it praise, just show it love. Anyway, yeah, I thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in part two. Peace.